down through probably maybe verse number 28. Then said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, if any man, didn't leave not anybody out, pretty well covered everybody, will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. And whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the entire world or the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according. Now notice this. He shall reward every man according to his works. Verily I say unto you, there shall be some standing here which shall not taste of death till you see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Jesus was telling his disciples, if you're going to follow me, there is something important I'm going to let you know. If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. You can be seated. Everybody wants a crown, but nobody wants a cross. And to be real frankly with you for a little while, I'm going to talk to you about if there's no cross, there's no crown. It just can't be. The first role, if you was to read about successful merchandising things to give a consumer what they want, being in the business my entire life for myself, and not either in the furniture business now and the great sell a few cars, man. We just did our taxes. Brother Larry and my wife looked at me. She said, take this to the tax people the last 2 days. She said, this is what you lost. She very quickly reminded me, Brother Larry, she went, this is what you lost. And that wasn't very good, but, you know, we'll make up for it somewhere else. It was fun losing it. Woo. But if you're going to give the consumer what they want, if they want bigger burgers, you make them bigger hamburgers. Whew, that's a good... Water bottles, now they design water bottles to catch the eye of the consumer. Not good enough just to have water bottles. They thought maybe they would buy more water bottles if I would throw a little grape splash in it. Anybody seen them fruit flavored waters? Makes water drinking pretty good. Or minivans. What can I draw people to buy a minivan? Put DVD players hanging down from the ceiling, so the kids can leave the bedroom of 8 hours of playing games. Then they could grab their phone and walk out the door and never miss a beat. But when they get in the car or the minivan, they could put down the screen and plug in their games and never miss a beat. So the consumer thought, man, it's nice. And we've owned several of them. It does make a big difference, especially if you're going on a long trip. You can put something that will entertain the children. TV, headphones, hookups. Got to have cup holders. Everybody likes stuff convenient for them. Dude, when you're buying a new, I might be different, but when I'm buying a new vehicle, one of the things I look for when I sit down in that automobile, where can I put my big gulp at? Maybe y'all don't, but I do. I got the little HHR I bought to go bid jobs, and the only 2 spots to put drinks is right between the seat. And every time you go to grab your Big Gulp or your Sonic Route 44, the lid comes off before it comes out of the hole. Very inconvenient to drink with. I like stuff convenient for me. I don't really want to bend over and get nothing. I would like for it to be about lap high right here. My dad's got a couple brothers that's dead and gone, but they was in the painting business, and poor RB was always agile and could get down pretty good, so he was having to run the baseboard most of the time. But Buck would like the door jambs, and they would give him a butt bucket because it would rough on the knees. They didn't want to bend over. It would be convenient if they would place that baseboard about 4 foot in the air, and you could paint on it a little bit. We're living in a very convenient world. They want everything at their disposal, or their disposal. They want to be able to reach it very easy without any struggle at all. They do. They want everything, and it's really not bad. I kind of like it too, man. We got garbage disposals. You can still don't have to worry about it. You can put it in and push the button. We got ice makers inside of refrigerators. You don't have to take them old Tupperware things no more. Crick and turn and gripe at the person that got a cup full of ice and didn't put the ice tray back in the freezer. Now we can just walk to the door and you can just stick your cup in the door and the ice will come flowing out. I was doing a job the other day, and this gentleman had a remote control vacuum cleaner. And I noticed it was just going all over the floor. Just no one even running that thing. It was just going by itself. Convenience, that's the mentality of the world today. They want everything convenient for them. They don't want to work for nothing. They want to rise to the top without starting at the bottom. No sacrifice. They want the business to flourish without no sacrifice. But it just don't work. I'm sorry. Maybe there might be a few cases in this world, and someone said, well, what would have happened if you had been born with a silver spoon in your mouth? I've said very quickly, I would probably choke to death. So things in life just don't come easy. They just don't. Usually folks that win the lottery, they say within a few years they're stone broke because they just don't know how to handle prosperity all of a sudden. Because if you learn to work for something, you will appreciate what you got in the end. So convenience is very, very important. Today, the same consumer mindset has invaded on the Christianity or the church service. Well, it's too long. The preacher just has a button instead of a mint. Well, we will shorten it. One pastor guarantees his sermon. One I was reading said, I'm going to try to get you where my sermon won't last more than 7 minutes. Good luck on that, preacher. Dress code, I want it to be formal. I want to have everything. I don't want the service to be boring. I want to hear the rocking band. I want it to be just how I want it. It's me I'm trying to please. Either the heater's too hot or the air conditioning is too cold. The message was too confrontational or too judgmental or too scary or just too hard. You just preach it too hard. I just don't like what you're preaching, preacher. I'll find me somewhere that I can handle what they preach. Because we want a convenient religion, if you please. We want something that pleases us. We want a generation that pleases what we want to do. We want somebody to understand and realize, and I want you to realize it real good, you are never going to experience salvation unless there's been a death somewhere. The modern day outlook on the church growth today is flawed. It's Christianity for consumers or Christian life. They want to read direction. They want to water it down. They want to misinterpret the biblical gospel into a attempt to make it a soft or popular gospel so it could fit and form to every individual that walks through the church. I'm going to tell you, the message is never supposed to conform to you. It's not supposed to fit every generation. I tell you, it is what it is. It says what it says. And if you're going to follow Jesus, it don't conform to you. You conform to it. Yes, sir. That's how it works in the last day. But we're living in a self-denial generation. They want the message, but they don't want the cross. They want the church, but they don't want the sacrifice. They want the blessings, but they don't want the initial cost it takes to get the blessing from God. The true gospel that we preach causes us to die in ourselves. It's interesting how this kind of thinking has invaded the church pulpits across America. Jesus wants you to be a better salesman. Jesus wants you to be a better housekeeper. Jesus wants you to hit more home runs than anybody in baseball, but you can't get there without sacrifice. Them ball players that making them millions of dollars. We were sitting eating supper. Sister Jones asked me today. I'm not really studied it out, but I think if I can ask Brother Joe, he'll tell me, does the baseball players make more than the football players? Or is it vice versa?
No comparison.
They make less or more? But they don't learn to play ball by sitting on the couch. There is a sacrifice somewhere. They don't make the millions because they just decided one day to show up at the Cardinal baseball stadium and grab a ball and a bat and say, I'm going to play short base or infield, or I'm going to play behind. They don't get there. That's not how they get there. It takes years of practice, years of batting practice and catching and throwing balls. It takes a sacrifice to ever receive the crown that they was looking for. In the same way with living for God, we have seen, and we are in the middle of a Laodicea generation. They want everything their way. They want God to conform to them. They want the church to be a custom-made church to fit their criteria, when God is saying, what about me? No cross, no crown. It's interesting. All Jesus really wants is to make you feel better about yourself. Religious personality. Robert Schumer wrote a book not long ago called Self-Esteem. And Schumer writes, the first thing that we have to do is to put an end to a classical God-centered theology and replace it with a man-centered theology. To define man-centered theology, he wrote farther, this master plan of God is designed around the deepest needs of human beings: self-dignity, self-respect, self-worth, and self-esteem. This is a new reformer self-esteem motivation to pull God down from his level and bring him down to our level, so that you can lift yourself up. But I asked you, the church, how twisted can that be? How contrary to the truth is that? Christian left in the hands of these shame-seeking, sensitive personalities that get what they want. And God said, it's not going to work. If you're going to serve me, you're going to follow me. And if you're going to follow me, you're going to deny yourself. You're going to pick up your cross, and you are going to follow me. It's not about you. It's about God. 2 Timothy chapter number 3 and verse number 1. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own self. Verse number 5. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. Whew. We're seeing it right unfold in front of us. I had a phone call even today, and I know they're probably live streaming, so I'm not going to go into detail. But there's a lot of folks that would fill the pews right now. The church would be full. Every church across America would be full if this church would conform to their humanistic thinking. They want God. They want the blessings of God. They want God to be Johnny on the spot. They want God to be faithful to them. But yet they want to be self-centered with their lifestyle, and they don't want to be faithful and give their life to God. Matthew 16 and 24. Then Jesus said unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up the cross and follow me. It's not about exalting me. It's about slaying me. It's the death of self that we're looking for. You win by losing. You live by dying. Dying to oneself. And that brother and sister in the heart of the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ, for us to become a disciple of Jesus Christ, we must be a cross bearer. If we could see a sign in heavenlies right now, God would probably have a wanted sign hanging up, cross bearers. I need someone that will deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. I would be faithful to church, but you don't understand. I've got this, I've got that, I've got this hanging on my shoulder, and it just don't fit my lifestyle. My lifestyle has to conform to the church conforming to your lifestyle. You have to conform your lifestyle to the church. Now, I do help as many people as I can. I'm not preaching against helping people. But there's a lot of people sitting on the side of the road that they want the biscuit and they want the hamburger, but they don't want the calloused hands. I don't mean everybody's like that, but there's a lot of them. They make a living because they don't want no cross. They don't want no responsibilities. They don't want no one to tell them what to do. I'm going to tell you, as long as you're breathing, whether you're in the work field or you're somewhere, there's a boss going to tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And when you come living for God, you've got to totally die out to your flesh. You've got to have a total death of yourself. And yourself has to die and say, God, not my will, but thine be done. How I've tried to gauge my lifestyle down through the years. There's a lot of things I do that I don't want to do, to be honest with you. There's a part of me that don't want to be faithful. But I go to look at my children, and I think if I'm going to teach my children to raise their children to be faithful and work and supply, I'm going to have to prove to them that I didn't get here by easy. It takes sacrifice to reach that area that you're looking for. But the problem with society today, they hate to die out. They hate to admit that it's not about us, it's all about Him. Deny himself or yourself and take up your cross and follow Jesus Christ. These words are the consumer friendly or are not seeker sensitive. Christian lifestyle is not found in this. You're not going to find a God that just conforms to you. He don't conform to nothing to do with us. We conform to Him. Matthew 10 and 32, Jesus talked about confessing Him as the Lord and Savior. Matthew 10, 32 said, whatsoever therefore you confess me before men, Him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. Verse number 35 says, for I am come to set men at variance against his father, and daughter against her mother, and daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and man's foes shall they do by his own household. God didn't come to send peace. If you're going to live for God, you're going to make a lot of folks in this world mad by following Jesus Christ. We got a lot of wannabe disciples, but the reason they're wannabes is because they don't want to be cross bearers. They want the reflection, they want the glitter, they want the blessings of the church, but yet they don't want the sacrifice of the church. I don't have a problem when I go to the closet. I've got everything in my closet that's lined out what I should wear and what I should not wear. I don't have other than paint on my clothes or a wardrobe that I wear to work. I don't have different wardrobes that change when I go to church. What you see me at church is what you see me in the world. But we're in a lifestyle that, what's that name of that lizard that wants to change when it gets on the bark of a tree? And we want to change. When we get around our worldly friends, we want to look like them, but yet we get around the church friends, we want to be presentable. And to God, God can't use somebody like that. He wants somebody to say, God, I'm sorry, not my will, from my head to my toe, God, I'm yours. I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to be committed. I'm going to be submitted. I'm going to be what you want me to be. God, I'm going to die so I can live. I'm going to deny myself so I can be what you want me to be. Matthew 10 and 37, he that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. If you're not willing to pay the price of a permanent split in your family unless your loved ones come to Christ. It's not that I've got lots of family that don't go to church. I love them to death, and we do have a good relationship, but we just don't mix. I'm sorry. I do things different than they do. I cannot conform to them. How can I win my family when they see me without the cross on my shoulder? Jones, I begin to wonder, it'll pay off. Don't you worry. They're watching you more than you think they're watching you. And I'm going to tell you, I'm after a crown. I ain't picking no bones about it. I'm not doing this for nothing. I'm not sacrificing my life for nothing. I'm not dedicating my life to God and the church and my family for nothing. There's going to be a reward one day. I'm going to wear a crown. I'm going to wear a crown. When that trumpet sounds, I'm going to throw down the cross and pick up the crown. It's going to be time that the crown is going to be replaced. Oh, God help me, Jesus. Don't feel sorry for me. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm exactly doing what I think I need to do. Because there's a lot of times in my life, I'm going to be transparent to you, that you have to make yourself be faithful. You have to make yourself pray. You have to make yourself fast. There's days that you have to make yourself live godly and soberly and righteously. But oh, there's a reward coming one day. Matthew 10:38 said, he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not even worthy of me. In Jesus' time, people associated a cross with one thing alone. A cross was an instrument of death. He was saying that if you're not willing to have conflict with the world and to disagree with them, it's going to cost you your life. I know the initial cost of salvation is free. He said, come money, come and buy without money, without price. This baptism of the Holy Ghost, you don't have to have a dime to get it. You can be as poor as Job's turkey and get it. You can be a millionaire. It's not about money. But darling, I'm going to tell you, the moment you confess and you come to an altar and you get born again of the water and the Spirit, and you let Jesus know that you're going to follow Him, the moment your knees get off of the ground, from that moment on, it's going to cost you your entire life. Told an individual just today, the phone, they went to telling me, oh, I would, but I'll be there, I'm sorry, and just complained. I've been working with this individual, backslidden. Finally, I stopped him. I said, no, when I see a change in you, I know you're serious. Until then, I believe you're just playing. People that's backslidden, I'm sorry that I got a lot of patience with brand new people that come from off of the seat of the world, and the world's gotten them. My God, I can go bend over backwards about people that have once tasted the goodness of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they know what it takes to be saved. They know how to live. They know how to dress. They know how to act, and they know how to talk. But when you come back to know Jesus, whether you've been backslid or not, you automatically pick up that cross. It don't take you 6 months. It don't take you a year. Right then, you pick it up. In prayer today, I thought, God, if people only understand, it's easy to get right. I told her one, I said, all you got to do is say, God, I'm sorry. It don't take you Albert Einstein to figure it out. But when you say you're sorry, you mean you're sorry. And when you mean you're sorry, you start changing your life to conform to Jesus, because you've been conforming to the world for years. Self-denial. We've got to have it God's way and not my way. Let me hurry. Mark 10:17. And when he was gone forth into the way, there came one running and kneeled to him and asked him, good master, what shall I do to inherit life? Jesus said unto him, thou callest me good. There is none good but one, and that is God. Verse number 19, thou knowest the commandments. Do not commit adultery. Do not kill. Do not steal. Do not bear false witness. Do not defraud. Honor thy father and mother. And he answered and said, Master, all of these have I observed from my youth. Then Jesus beholding him, in other words, Jesus looking at him. Don't you think Jesus can tell? Why do we think we can fool God? It's impossible to fool God. Jesus beholding him, looked at him and said, I know I've seen you keep the commandments. Then he looked at him and said unto him, one thing thou lackest. Go thy way, whatsoever thou hast. Everybody has a special cross that's hard to give up. He said, go thy way. Proud of you, man. You kept the commandments. You kept your relationship with your wife clean. You didn't commit adultery. You ain't killed your brother. I'm thankful for that. You ain't stole the lawnmower from your neighbor. Thank you for that. You ain't been bearing false witness and defrauding and being crooked. And you still say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, to your father and mother. You still take care of them. But there's something that you're not letting go of. He said, there's one thing that thou lackest. Go sell everything. In other words, you've got to reach down and pick up that cross. And sell everything. And give to the poor. Thou shalt have treasures in heaven. Come. And then he said, take up your cross. And follow me. And the scripture said the rich young ruler turned away sorrowful. Great away grieved, for he had great possessions. The young synagogue leader ran up to Jesus and knelt before him and asked him, if I can, I'm going to get it down to your language, inherit eternal life. What a setup for a personal evangelism. Jesus said, oh, thank you for asking that. Pray this prayer. No, he didn't say repeat after me. He didn't say confess. He didn't say the sinner's prayer. But he said, you've got to deny yourself, sell it all out, and give it to the poor, and take up your cross and follow me. And he was sad, saying, and he went away, I can't do it. And he decided he would rather hold on to the possessions that he had than to repent and deny himself, for his love of money had got to him. He decided, I can't do it. Church, if we're not willing to give everything up, we're not going to make it. I know this is sobering. We've got to deny ourselves. We've got to totally die out to God and take up our cross and follow him. It's important. No cross, no crown. Oh, we got a glory-seeking world. I'm telling you, not so much here. I'm thankful for all the young preachers in the house. But we have a lot of young preachers that want the pulpit shine and the glitter without the prayer room sacrifice, and it don't work. A lot of folks want to build a business, but they don't want to start at the bottom. They want to start. It don't work. Everything requires a sacrifice. Man, if I could, I would like to have started selling cars like Brother Larry. But I had to start at the groundwork and had to learn some valuable lessons. Because I like to go like this. There's an adrenaline that comes in that. If I was a millionaire, I would just go to auctions to torment people. I would. Just feels good doing that. Told a story the other day about me and my wife, and as Jimmy Durbin at the table, he's telling me about Blevins. Have you ever been to one of Blevins auctions? Yeah. The old man, he sits up there. And well, I don't mean that disrespectfully. The elderly gentleman sits up there. But I used to buy a lot of stuff from him when he had furniture stores. But he knew me and my wife. And we went there and she seen these two big Clydesdales out by the road. She told me before the auction started, she said, that's the reason we went to the auction. She wanted them Clydesdales. She said, I want them Clydesdales. So that was probably the last thing they was going to sell. They went through everything. And when it come time, they were so heavy, they didn't bring the Clydesdales up there to where the auction was. They just said, if you've seen them horses out there by the road, them yard omens, we're fixing to auction them off, while the crowd stayed down here. They had one guy, so I walked up there, and as I was bidding, I was walking around them horses. And I noticed there was just me and one other person bidding. And my wife done told me she wanted them high Clydesdales. So I was a bidding. We got up to $300 and some, and there was only 2 people bidding. Finally, it dawned on me. I had out of the corner of my eye, my wife had stayed back there in the crowd, and I was 100 feet over there at the road. I was bidding against my wife. I was so mad that I went and got the truck and I paid the price, $300 and some. I probably could have got them for $75. She's hard to bargain with. Said to Becky, Hal does something like that sometimes, don't you, at the auction? Yes, she does. Well, we end up buying the Clydesdales. We got them. Thank the Lord we got them. But my temperature was way up there because, what is it? I just got in the spirit of bidding. If they would have went up to $1,000, I would have went and borrowed money. We would have had them Clydesdales. But we have to take up our cross and follow Jesus Christ. Nothing. And he answered, said, Master, all these things have I observed. I've did these for my entire life. But he said, thou lackest one thing. Sell what you got. And he just couldn't do it. Luke 9 and 4:58, Jesus said unto him, foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. Jesus was telling this man, I don't own a home, a bed, or a pillow. But if you're going to follow me, it's going to cost you whatever you have. Don't expect comfort on easy street. In fact, it might even cost you your life, as it did many others. John 12 and 24, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall to the ground and die, it abideth alone, but if it die, it shall bring forth much fruit. In other words, Jesus said, if you're going to be fruitful in following me, it's going to cost you your entire life. You've got to die. Now, I'm not here to split hairs, and I'm not here to try to raise the eyebrow of somebody or point my finger at anybody, not by any means. But I'm going to tell you something. Jesus is not the Jesus that this new generation is painting. I'm not here. I love young folks, and I got a little lenience, and I still got a lot of old-timey in me too. I tried to bend the balance between both of us. But I'm going to tell you, this new generation Jesus think we need a bar stool and our shirt untucked just to preach the gospel, to preach the contrary. You don't have to have a coffee shop to build a church, darling. Now, if you decide to put a coffee shop in there, more power to you. But it's not the lights that build the church. It's not the coffee shop that builds the church. It's not the conform to this world that builds the church. It's sticking to the message of Jesus Christ and not conforming to the world. Now, I'm not against serving a biscuit or a donut, whatever it takes, but I'm telling you, there's no new media culture of life that's trying to conform to the world to make it convenient for them. All we are is doing is producing a church that has no cross. They want stuff so convenient. Restaurants will literally go out of business serving great food if it's hard to get into. If the location is hard to get into, they'll start it because people want no worries. They don't want no traffic jams. They don't want nothing to get in their way. They want to whistle through life and whistle Dixie. They don't want nothing to bother them. That's why they don't make it in the house of God. The moment you decide to live for God, you're going to face hell. You're going to face high waters. You're going to have splinters in your shoulder. The cross is going to get heavy. The night's going to get long. But I promise you, the crown is going to shine greater than the pain of the cross. You've got to deny. Now notice this. Matthew chapter number 7 and verse number 13. Enter ye in at the strait gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many which go in thereat. Verse number 14, because straight is the gate, narrow is the way which leadeth to life, and few there be that find it. In other words, it is a constricted area or a tight squeeze. In other words, you can't carry your baggage and fit through the opening. You have to go through without nothing. You have to totally deny oneself to get into that narrow way. But broad is the way. You can go through with all of your baggage, your luggage, your hang-ups, your mess-ups. Broad is the way you can get into that church, that gate. You don't have to give up your nicotine. You don't have to give up your ungodly lifestyle. You don't have to give up your adultery and your fornication and your ungodly ways of living, your bad talking and your things. You don't have to give them up. You can just wallow right on through that broad way. But if you're going to fit that place that Jesus is looking for, you're going to totally strip yourself of everything that's not like God. And when you totally strip yourself spiritually, that means you got to get rid of the bitterness. You got to get rid of the hate. You got to get rid of the gossip. You got to get rid of all of the things of your life. You've totally got to empty yourself out. And then after it's emptied out, you've got to work on getting through this way. Because it's a narrow way. It's a tight squeeze. In other words, you're going to go through it with nothing. A wide religious gate also exists. But it's because many preachers and many churches are leading people through this broad way. You don't have to do the hard stuff to get into heaven no more. People are breezing through this gate wide and comfortably, living a supposed Christian lifestyle. They still got all their baggage. They still got all their self-needs, their self-esteem. They still got their desires of fulfillment and self-satisfaction. And this right here is a problem that we're facing because they're going through, and thousands of them are going through, and there's preachers leading them that way. Come on, it's okay. Because they're substituting a move of God for a congregation. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to substitute a move of God for a congregation. There can still be a church that is full, that's thriving, and you still can squeeze through the narrow way. Oh, yeah, it don't have to be broad is the way to build a church, darling. You can still build a church falling in love with Jesus Christ. Their self-needs and their self-esteems is getting in the way. Oh, God, we live in a selfless hour. If you don't think so, it's just not in the world. It's in the church. I have a problem with people that put selfies of themselves all the time on social media. It drives me nuts. They want to preach everybody else in hell because they might not be dressed in their criteria, but every time they try. Me going to church. My whole family matches tonight. Now that's just me. Y'all can do whatever you want to do. I'm not preaching against you. I'm not preaching against you taking selfies. But that's the generation we live in. Look at me. People starving to death. They ain't fed a homeless people their entire life, but yet they spend more money on one pair of jeans. I tell you, there's a lot more to living for God than just getting the outside right, honey. But you can't discard the outside. It's got to have that right too. But not only do you have to have the outside, there's something on the inside that's got to conform to Jesus Christ. You've got to love your neighbor as theirself. You can't talk about people and misuse people. You can't talk about other folks and you misuse other folks and squeeze through that narrow way. If you're going to talk about people, you're going to have to go through the broad way. That missionary told me something sitting at the dinner table, blowed my mind. The other day, I don't know. I said, brother, that's amazing. I said, I know how it is to build a church. I know how it is to start a home mission work. Not even before I was doing it, I was with my dad. I know how it is to. I'm not going to go there. I know how it is to almost lose everything. I know how it is to wind up living in a one-room schoolhouse. I know how it is to take baths in a baptistry. It's not all bed of roses, darling. I know how it is to spend your money, pay the things that the church needs. See, no, I'm not begrudging. I'll do it again 1,000 times. But I'm telling you, it's not all what everybody makes it out to be. Living for God is all about one thing. I'm after that crown. I'm after that crown. Say, Brother John, you're right, I'm after the bling. That's why I've got to have the crown. And before I can get the crown, I've got to have the cross. I know how it is. But he sat there and he said, man, we're going to Portland, Oregon. And he did a good job. What little bit I got in on Sunday, I was amazed. He had a good spirit, talked to him. And he said, but man, there's 11 churches in that area already. And there's 3 churches that's already donated, I don't know how many people, to meet me every night for service for a year. Every night I have my doors open. They're sending their praise team. They're sending their youth group. They're sending some of their Sunday school teachers. That same churches in the same city is sending people to build a church. I looked at him, I said, I don't mean to be smart, but that blows my mind. This is a dog-eat generation that we're living in. He began to explain to me. I thought, man, that is awesome. I'm going to tell you, it's all about the kingdom. It ain't nothing to do about us. If we don't ever build the church until the walls, I don't want to talk negative, but it's all about the kingdom. It's not about me. God, we've got to take up that cross. A lot of folks like the lamplight. I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of hidden things in building a church that a lot of folks don't ever pay attention to. Remember, narrow is the way that leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. It's a hard thing to find a narrow gate. It's easy to find a wide gate. In the business world, there's 3 things that they'll tell you if you're going to succeed in the business world. Y'all know what them 3 things are? Location, location, location. People want to see exposure. They want the convenience. If they're looking for something, they're trying to find something that's got the best whistles, and they got the best bells and everything that's perfect. They're looking for everything to fit their criteria. They want a church. If they could find a drive-through church, it would probably do that. Now, I've heard of drive-through funeral homes. I read about one of them a while back. They was trying one of them out. They could put their loved ones at a display window, and you could drive through and roll down your window and pay your last respects. Darling, if we get so busy that we can't get inconvenienced and get out of our car and walk our carcass to the funeral home, we're in trouble. Can you imagine driving by? Hello, Uncle John. Gonna miss you. Oh. But it's the convenient. If it don't fit people nowadays, it don't work. You have to have a cross. I'm sorry. To have a crown. You can't make the crown without the cross. You just can't do it. To enter that straight gate, you've got to rid yourself of everything that's not like God. The so apostolic way is still the way. Separation from the world. Had that question asked me today. I said, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not here to split hairs with you, but there still is a message of separation from this world. And when they see you, they're going to know that you're different, not only by your outward appearance, but by your spirit that you portray. If we ever need to fall in love with each other, not only God, we need to have a revival of compassion like we've never had before in our life. I really wonder what heaven's going to be like. It's amazing, ain't it? Think about it for a moment. Walls of jasper, streets of gold, gates of pearl, 1,500 miles wide, tall, deep, heavenly angels, Jesus on the throne, no more crying, no more cancer, no more sugar diabetes, no more problems. We're going to reign with the King. How? Can it be amazing? How are we going to get unity in such a great place? If I got odd against you and you got odd against me and we both make it, I know probably one of us ain't going to make it. I'm not here saying we are. But if we did slip through the narrow way, what are we going to do when we get to heaven? Was in a meeting one time, was kind of joking around. They asked me, they said about the quit. Asked Brother Jones, they said, what do you think we'll get to heaven? There's a bunch of bickering going on. I said, well, the scripture said we're going to get a crown. I said, but at the way it looks right now, if we ain't careful, we're going to need a club a whole lot better than we're going to need a crown. But I'm sorry, whether it's me or you, I don't think we're going to make it. That cross requires a lot of us. Can you imagine? He was hanging on the cross. We'll be talking about that Sunday. And they spit upon him. They mocked him. They belittled him. They derobed him. And he still said, Father, forgive them. What a God that we serve. Them old nasty fishermen that was throwing that old net when they got found on the sandy seashores. He looked at them and he said, hey, if you want to follow me, I'll make you fishers of men. In other words, you're going to feel the heartbeat of people. That's my life. That's what I'm doing. We've got to fall in love with Jesus today. I would like to tell you that he's going to pass out crowns when you've never owned the cross. But I'm saddened to tell you, according to what I read, I don't think it's going to work that way. You're going to have to die out of self and follow Jesus. Let us stand today.